right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So, hey, nothing going on, you guys. No stories to talk about. Definitely not the Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler fight that everybody's been looking forward to for the last 150 years, potentially in doubt. I actually talked to Michael Chandler this morning, and I had a whole talk track for my video I was going to do about it. And since I spoke to him, true story, spoke to him at around, yes, this would have been at 8:30 in the morning. It's now 1:30 p.m. And in the time between when I spoke to Michael and when I'm filming this video, quite a few things have happened on the internet. And so we're going to talk about the status of this fight and it being in doubt, like really in doubt, it looks like. I also spoke to other people that are much more in the know than me, and they told me that they would have bet they're betting their life that the fight is still a go. Like they literally bet their life that the fight is still a go. And I'm like, all right, we're good. And since then, again, about 10 different things have happened that have made it look like this fight is actually going to not be going on. Like really looking bad, really bad. So I'm going to show you all of those things, and then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put together a couple like dots of what I think is actually going on, assuming that the fight is off. And like, that's what we're looking at, by the way. Like those, like when we get over here, right? Like when we get over to this part where we're looking through the like specific stuff, it's like, okay, not good. And I'll tell you exactly what the UFC would be trying to do, in the event that Conor is out, which I'm going to say is probably what's going on now, it looks like. And I should have seen it yesterday, dude. I mean, I should have seen this yesterday. They canceled the press conference. They canceled the Ireland press conference. What else? You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, because Jake Paul has put up a couple tweets out where I'm like, okay, so are you saying that your fight with Tyson is not happening? Because I can count, So like a couple things happen in there where it's like, all right, that doesn't look good. Also, Dana talks about it, and his face, Dana's face in him talking about the Tyson and Jake, he won't say anything about it. But if I'm reading the room, right, I know that Dana is not rooting for Jake Paul and MVP to do well. And when I ask him about it, he's like, I'm not going to speak about that publicly. He's got a shit-eating grin on his face. The kind of shit-eating grin that I had not seen before. I'm like, oh, this is much worse than it looks like, I think. Because Dana's not getting his information from MVP. He's getting his information from Mike Tyson, his friend, And so I'm like, oh, God, not good. Not good. So we'll talk about that after the Chandler and Conor stuff. Now, this is a really depressing day. The only way you could cheer me up is if you subscribe to my channel. Like the video for your boy. Just like it. All the subscribers, just like the video. God. And I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Yo Kratom. If you are a Kratom user, especially if you use daily and you want to get the cheapest and best quality at the same time, $60 kilograms, Yo Kratom, you will never find a better price on the internet, and you will never find more consistent and reliable shipping. YoKratom.com, YoKratom.com. You know what? Let's start with what the conversation I had with Chandler today. So I talked to Michael Chandler this morning, and first what happened was yesterday, when they canceled the press conference, I texted him. I'm like, hey, are you in Ireland? I have no idea what happened. He responded to me 20 minutes later and said, no, I'm not. And somehow my phone didn't send it to me until this morning. Very bizarre. That's never happened. I literally got it this morning, but it had the timestamp from like 20 minutes after I texted him yesterday, which again, super weird. But so as soon as I got it, I texted him. I'm like, okay, good. I thought that you were like already out in Ireland. And I'm like, but the fight is still good. And he's like, absolutely, fight's still good. Tell your fans I'm going to end Conor's career, because I am. This is going to be the last time that they ever see Conor McGregor compete in the cage. And I was like, oh, let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's go. I will today. That is an exact transcript of our conversation right there. And so I go to, I was going to take my daughter to jiu-jitsu this morning. That's where I was going. And I went there just like, all right, everything's good, dude. I was stressing out last night. Everything's fine. Talked to two other people who are way more dialed into the community than I am. Both of them are like, nah, fight's a go, man. Fight's good. And then people started sending me some articles and some things that looked very concerning. As an example, right? I think I'm pretty sure this was one that I got right here. ESPN has removed ads on their website and cable TV for Conor McGregor's return at UFC 303 versus Michael Chandler. Not good. Not good at all. Right? Now, it's important to consider that Conor McGregor in his entire career has never once pulled out of a fight, ever. Not once. Never pulled out of a fight. He has never pulled out of a fight, and he also has never postponed a fight. That said, he's never done anything like this either. And also, in addition to what we just talked about in terms of the ads coming down, the Nate Diaz fights that were made public by the UFC as promotional material on YouTube for this coming fight have now been made private also. This is all bad. And then yesterday, McGregor canceled a huge press conference in Ireland with speculation overnight of bad news for the promotion and fans. Not good at all. Okay? Now, let me tell you why I know that this is really bad. Okay? Really bad. It's because the second that a story like this comes out, this is 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago. You want to know what would have happened if we were good? Let's go over to Dana White's Twitter. Okay, let's just see what's going on over on Dana White's Twitter. Because if we were good, without any shred of doubt, Dana would have said, this is nonsense. The media is stupid. We're good. And he's not saying anything. Okay? Now, I will say, this is wildly impressive, though. Look at that, dude. That's bananas. Look at how good that is. I'm sure that there are a lot of haters that are going to be like, well, anybody could do that with steroids. No, you can't, actually. That's not correct. Very impressive. Anyway, I don't mean to derail this. Bottom line is, we would see something, okay? We'd see something from Conor, from Dana or Conor. And when you go back to what Ariel said yesterday, which was there's nothing salacious, we're just going to have to wait. And then he was talking about, think about what Michael Chandler's going through. Michael Chandler has been waiting. What about this opportunity? Whatever. I realized afterwards, now that I've seen all of this stuff, that he is not accidentally, but he's betraying what is, what's going on over there. Because in reality, he, as he's talking about like how unfortunate this is for Michael Chandler, he's accidentally saying that he knows Conor's injured, is what I think. I think Conor's injured. I think Conor is injured. So that is very unfortunate. Now, why would they not say it out of the gate? Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's go. Everybody say it with me. Well, I'll ask the question and let's all say it together. Ready? Why would the UFC not just come out and say that Conor McGregor is injured if Conor McGregor's injured? Because the exact same reason that it was a mistake to come out with the Mike Tyson thing if they were going to actually replace Mike Tyson with Logan Paul. What you should always do is you get your replacement fight in place and then you announce the fact that Conor's out, okay? You don't just announce Conor's out of the main event, but don't worry, we got something really hot on tap. You put together the absolute best possible replacement that you can, and then you announce it then, okay? So I don't know what they're putting together. They're probably trying to get Max versus Chandler for the BMF belt, which is about as good as you're going to be able to get. They're going to have to offer Max Holloway an absolute fortune to get him to come back and do that fight right there. But it's at 170. It's at 170, so he doesn't have to cut weight. He's already probably still in pretty good shape, But Michael Chandler's a fucking dog, dude. He's a fucking dog. He's a dog. So here is my take. I think that Conor is out. I think he's injured. I think we're going to find that out shortly. I think they are going to pay Max Holloway so much money that it's absolutely obscene to get him to step in. And here's the reality, dude. You want to know who's getting fucked the most out of all of this? Out of everybody? Aside from, the entire fan base, right? Aside from the entire fucking fan base. And like I said, I'm going to talk about Jake Paul, how I know the Mike Tyson fight's probably out too in a second. But bottom line is, do you know how much people paid for those tickets? Do you understand how much people paid for those tickets? I told you guys. Okay, I paid 4 G's for my tickets to UFC 300. And I'm not saying that as a flex. I consider this like a bucket list. It's UFC 300. I now literally make a living talking about mixed martial arts and related topics on the internet. Okay. And this is UFC 300 that I have I've earned this. You know what I mean? Like, I've earned this, so I'm going to spend all this money on these tickets. It's neither here nor there. Do you want to know how much the exact same seats were to buy for the Conor one? Double. Fucking double. 4 G's each. Each. 8 G's. We weren't even on the floor. We were in the front row of the section right above the floor. 8 G's for 2 seats right there. I mean, they're badass tickets, but 8 G's. And again, 4 G's for UFC 300. Now, is this card comparable to UFC 300 if you take Conor McGregor off of the card? No, it's not. It's not at all. And so not only did I pay a gigantic amount for what would have probably been, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how much I paid for. I sat in seats like that a few fights. For UFC 271, which was Izzy against Whitaker, we were in a section that was closer to the cage in those seats, and I believe, I don't know, whatever. Bottom line, that's the most I've ever paid for them by a mile, okay? So the average, and the only reason I even bring this up is I'm just saying, like, normally those seats would have probably been around $1,300 each, not 2 G's. And so someone who paid 8 G's each got so fucked if Conor is not going to this fight, dude. Oh, the other thing too that I forgot to mention is this. So they also, now they didn't even have this on here, but UFC had put up the Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz fights and they took them down. They're gone. They're private now. So I mean, try to tell me that there's a reason that would be the case if Conor's still fighting. You know, it's all bad. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, everybody's talking about it. Renato's like, imagine if Conor's really out. It's terrible, dude. I feel terrible for Chandler. I will tell you this though. They need to save the show. And Michael Chandler, I love you, brother. If they make you fight another fighter, they better give you a fucking fortune. Think about this. Think about how much money they have made on the gate, okay? If they ask you to fight another fighter, a replacement fighter, think about the amount of money that they are trying to hold on to, okay? You can ask for $4 million additional dollars. You can ask for a fortune. You can demand a fortune, okay? You waited how long for the Conor McGregor fight? I don't give a shit how much you're expected to make now. You have them by the balls. I'm not trying to be a prick to the UFC. I'm just telling you in terms of like leverage in a negotiation, okay? At this point, after what you've gone through to get the Conor McGregor fight, if they're like, hey, will you fight Max? You know, a much worse matchup on short notice that you have not prepared for, make them fucking pay. Anyway, so now let's move over to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson because I think we have bad news on that as well. Now, do I know for sure? Of course not. Not of course not. I guess I could. Here's bottom line. I've not spoken to MVP about this at all. Okay, so I'll tell you why I am speculating that we might have bad news on this fight. I mean, as of this moment, we don't have a date anyway. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm throwing salt on an event that does not exist, right? The July 20th one is not happening. So like I said, when I first reported it, and people were all, oh my God, clickbait, you said it's canceled. Yeah, I did, because it is canceled. Them saying we'll give you a new date later, that means it's postponed. Oh, is it? What day are they fighting? What? So when is the date that they're fighting? Well, they're going to let us know in a week. Okay, so then it's not postponed. It's canceled as of now, and they're going to tell us in a week, you know, what the new date is. So I want to show you this first because Jake did this post on Twitter, which I thought was really funny. He's like, people keep asking me about Conor McGregor and UFC 3. Obviously, I know a lot about it, but I'm not going to talk about it publicly. For the first time probably ever in my life, I have no comment on something. That's their word. You know, they get pissed at me every time I talk about stuff. Good for them. They'll figure it out. So I knew exactly what he was referencing right when he did that, but I'm sure a lot of people don't. So this is what he was referencing, which is pretty funny.
Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is delayed. I know you're close with Mike. I guess, are you happy that they're looking out for his health in that instance? And do you even think it should be rescheduled, period, given this ulcer flare-up?
100%. Yeah, obviously I know a lot about it, but I'm not going to talk about it publicly. Yeah, you know. Yeah. For the first time probably ever in my life, I have no comment on something. That's Mike's world, and you know he gets pissed at me every time I talk about that stuff. Good for him, and they'll figure it out.
So again, give Jake some credit. He's clever. Like, that's funny, even though I am extraordinarily unhappy that Conor's situation is happening and the Tyson situation is happening. I'm very unhappy about both these situations, but at least we can have a sense of humor about it. Now, why am I speculating that this is bad, right? Like, why are okay. Well, I hadn't seen this. So Jake Paul's heard they were celebrating the rescheduling of Paul Tyson. Karma's undefeated. Okay, good. All right, good. So it's still at rescheduling. But here is something else that they said. Okay, so I saw this and I was like, oh God, not good. Okay, because this is Jake Paul, the owner, at least co-owner and, whatever, of MVP Promotions. And I'm pretty good at math, you guys. I am pretty good at math. Ready for this? Okay, so if you have an ulcer flare-up, per the interweb and an MD in my comments and an MD who I am related to, verified that generally speaking, you would have to block off at least 3 months to be safe on a stomach ulcer, okay? 3 months from now, June, July, August, okay? That's best case scenario, most likely that you would assume for scheduling. Now, you cannot reschedule this again, so you have to give them an additional month. So now you're at September. Okay, so we are not scheduling anything to have Mike training hard until September. June, July, August, September. Which means that he could start training in October. Okay, which means October, November, earliest that you could safely reschedule that fight is going to be December. Okay, so realistically, are you going to schedule for December? Probably not. Probably looking at late December, January maybe. Or I don't know what it, movies are awful in January, so I don't know if events are the same way, right? But if you're talking about February and you're like Jake Paul versus KSI, Logan Paul versus Deji, you're like, wait a minute. So now we're talking about other fights, Maybe this is just them talking. I thought Logan and Jake were going to fight in July. They got pretty good response. I don't know what is going on, whatever. But when he said February, I was like, oh, fuck. Now, it is possible, it's possible that, maybe Mike's doctor said it is going to be a shorter period than 3 months. I would go off of whatever Mike said. If the doctor's he needs a month off, all right. I'm going off of what the internet says, what the internet and doctors that I spoke to said. And they said 3 months. So it just seems bizarre that it's all, well, nah, don't worry about that. Like Tyson, who's 57, should probably be cool in 3 weeks. It seems unlikely. Nonetheless, we also had this, now, obviously, this is not a super credible source of information, but I don't know, dude. I can't, you know what? I'm sorry. Just forget that I even put this up. Dylan, I love you, buddy, but you're not a credible source of information on a thing about, having to do with Jake Paul. I'm sorry. But I don't know, dude. I don't know. Tyson and this happening all in the same 7 days. This is pretty shitty. And I know a lot of people are all, why aren't you putting Tyson and Jake Paul's fight in the same category as Conor and Chandler? No. Conor and Chandler's not officially off, though. It just looks really bad. It looks really bad. But I was really excited for Tyson and Jake. Really excited. Really fucking excited. If for no other reason, I want to be proven correct in my assessment that Mike Tyson is going to do way better than people think. Whenever I dig into it and people are like why they think that Jake is just going to run through Mike Tyson, eventually we get to Evander Holyfield against Vitor Belfort, which I know absolutely does not apply even a little bit, which is really dumb. And so I'm like, okay, I'm on solid ground here, dude. These people's confidence is based on an incorrect, comparison. I hope that both Tyson and Jake and Conor and Chandler happen. I really hope that this thing is a false alarm with Conor, but given the evidence, I don't know, dude. Them pulling the advertisements down, them making the advertising, fights that they just did private, Dana not having said anything. They're trying to get a replacement fight. That has to be what's going on. Anyway, I don't know. But Jake and Tyson, maybe not. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye.